everyone! I know it's been a while since I uploaded a video. Life just got a little hectic for me for a while. However, I'm back and we are here to talk about Final Destination Bloodlines. Final Destination is one of those horror movie franchises that I will watch every entry. I enjoy every entry in the franchise and I always look forward to the next one coming out. So I was super excited when I saw that they had announced a 6th entry in the franchise. I had seen the trailers going into this movie, so I did know that there was a little bit of a twist on the normal Final Destination formula. Final Destination follows a very predictable plot line where you have the opening sequence, which is the main character having a premonition. The premonition shows a catastrophic event that is about to happen. The main character has foreknowledge of this event, and so they are able to save themselves and a handful of people from being killed in this catastrophe. Those people who were saved are then picked off one by death because they were meant to die in this event and the person intervened to stop it. The movies usually end with the main character and one or two other people surviving to the end, thinking they have defeated death's plan, and then the twist happens and the main characters are taken out. This movie follows that same pattern. It opens with a premonition. However, the person who has the premonition is actually the grandmother of the main character. The opening sequence is revealed to be a dream that the granddaughter is having of the premonition that the grandmother had had years before. The grandmother was able to save a whole bunch of people from this catastrophic event. Because she saved so many people, death was slow enough in getting all of them that the woman who had the premonition was able to have children and grandchildren before death came for her. She also was able to recognize the signs of her pending doom and able to escape her fate and live to be an old woman. So the movie is kicked off by her granddaughter having these dreams. She has these dreams every night. She is unable to get good rest and her grades are failing. So she decides to go home to talk to her family to figure out what this dream means. She is then reunited with her estranged grandmother, who explains to her that death is coming for her and for them because they were never supposed to exist. The grandmother gives the granddaughter all of her files. While she is talking to the granddaughter, death finally comes for her and she is taken out. The granddaughter at first doesn't believe the grandmother, but from the dreams and witnessing her grandmother taken out in front of her, she starts to believe that the family is cursed. The family doesn't believe her, but as subsequent members of the family are taken out, they eventually do believe her and try to help the family escape this fate. The movie ends with the granddaughter and her brother being the last two survivors, and they think that they did what was needed to outsmart death and stay alive. However, the last scene is a train derailment that takes out the brother and the granddaughter, and that's the end of the movie. I have to admit, I didn't like this movie. I don't think it's a bad movie. I think it's a decent sequel. I also respect them for doing something new with the basic Final Destination formula. However, there's a few things that just didn't work for me. The first thing that didn't work for me is the opening sequence. There's something about it that just doesn't feel as real as the other ones. In all the other movies, the premonition and real life is very seamless. You can't tell where the real part of the movie and the premonition part of the movie starts. In this, the quality of the whole opening scene is very heightened. The color is oversaturated. It's got this surreal effect that took me out of the intensity of the moment. And I think that's probably because the opening isn't actually a premonition, it's a dream sequence, but I really wish they had kept it a little more grounded. Also for me, this opening sequence was probably the most unrealistic. I didn't really connect to as far as the intensity and the scariness of the situation. I think the draw of the Final Destination is having these normal everyday life experience like flying on a plane, driving in a car, going over a bridge, even sitting in the stands or riding a roller coaster are pretty normal everyday things things that we take for granted, that we generally think are safe, even though we know there's an element of danger to it. We do it anyway because in general, those situations are considered safe. This one, from the moment the woman who has the premonition and her boyfriend get out of the car and look at this high-rise restaurant, I was like, immediately, no, I'm not going up there. It's this high-rise restaurant. The whole tower part of it is very narrow. The top is much wider than the structure holding it up. They also say it's opening night, so nobody's actually ever really been up there since it was built. They go in and the elevator is already over capacity, but they are invited into the elevator anyway. So they're already breaking their own code, their own rules. It just has all these red flags. Plus the actual catastrophe, the glass breaks and people are falling, the building starts to come down, and then a fire breaks out and people are running around on fire. It's just a series of unfortunate events that just doesn't feel as real as a lot of the opening sequences of the other movies. So for me, this was my least favorite opening premonition scene.
Fail!
The next thing that didn't work for me was the cast of characters that the movie is centered around. And not because it's a bad cast of characters, quite the opposite. I actually think this is a very good cast of characters, almost too good. They do a great job of establishing this family dynamic, of showing how loving this family is and how they work so well together and really enjoy each other's company. Every single character is likable and you want them to survive and you really start to care about them. Final Destination has been pretty good about not just having a completely vapid, unlikable cast of characters. However, usually there's enough unlikable people or one-dimensional people that you're really there for the kills and not to root for the characters. Final Destination has this reputation of being the movies that see how creatively they can off people. However, there's a lot of kills that seem to be quick and painless deaths.
It was like God's will.
So who's next?
This movie, however, I feel like most, if not all of the kills are very gruesome and graphic, and a lot of them are very prolonged and painful. Coupling that with how likable the characters are, it makes it feel super cruel. It's not really entertainment as much as just gross. And I found myself just feeling bad. The teaser trailer showed the guy with the piercings who you think might be this one-dimensional jerk with piercings who you're rooting to see killed, but he's actually a very sympathetic character. He goes through this journey of finding out that he's not related to the family in the way that he thought he was. He grieves his father's death really hard, and then he tries to protect his brother and do everything he can to save his brother. And it's super sweet, and he gets one of the most violent and painful and mean deaths out of everybody in the movie. The younger brother of this piercing guy would be your typical Final Destination jock type, but he's actually a super sweet kid. He has this vulnerability about him that makes him super likable, and you just want the older brother to save him. You want him to survive, and he also gets killed in a super ugly, mean way.
Double fail!
Kind of a nitpicky thing, but there's also a lot of kills that happen in a hospital that just feel super unrealistic. I know the other movies show death kind of manipulating with reality, so things aren't always the most plausible. However, this one I just didn't like. The MRI machine has like no fail-safe, and it just malfunctions in the most ridiculous and over-the-top way. You also have a scene where the characters go to talk to Tony Todd's character, and they barge into this room where a man is right in the middle of an autopsy. I don't think that autopsies are performed in a room that's accessible to anybody from the outside.
You done messed up, Aaron!
The scene with Tony Todd was a highlight of the movie. I did like it. He is very thin, and from his dialogue you can tell that he knows he doesn't have a lot of time left in his real life, and the writers knew that as well. They gave him lines that move the plot forward, but also give him a chance to say goodbye to the audience, which was really nice.
I'll see you soon.
There's also a few cool callbacks to the other movies. The grandmother, before she dies, gives the granddaughter all of her research, and in it there is a picture of a plane, which is a callback from the original movie. There is a scene where they are leaving the hospital and almost run into a logging truck, which of course is a callback to the second movie. There is a scene where they are leaving the hospital and the mother is trying to remember the name of this place, and one of the names that she thinks of is Clear Rivers, which of course is the name of the main female character from the first movie. And then the main character and her brother are killed by logs coming off of this train. I really wish they hadn't called back twice to the logging truck. I really wish they had done maybe a different callback in one of those scenes. I felt like it was a bit lazy to have two callbacks to the same part of the same movie. I also felt like the ending was a little bit silly because this train derails and is coming straight down the road straight for them, and they just run straight ahead in front of it instead of going sideways. If they had just turned to the sides, they would potentially have survived. I know my opinion of this movie is different than a lot of other people's. It's my least favorite. I'm not gonna go rewatch it anytime soon, whereas all the other movies in the franchise I would be happy to rewatch. This one just was kind of a miss for me. But like I said, I don't think it's a bad movie. I think it is a decent sequel and entry for the franchise. I will definitely be checking out any new Final Destination movies that come out, and I'm still excited to see where the franchise goes from here. That's all I have for now. Until next time, take care of yourself and drink water. Bye-bye. Subscribe!